This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Everybody, Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talks College. Back to mostly football huddle. Started off with the wrong theme music there earlier. Sorry about that. We're back to our marching band. How exciting. We'll be pivoting more towards college football now. Hope you guys are hearing me. I think that's because I got the music playing yet. So anyway, welcome in, everybody. Great to have you with us tonight. As I said, I started to say we'll be pivoting more towards college football now. We'll still have some college basketball news. I'll touch on a few things later on in the show with college football or college basketball, excuse me. Some of the early NBA declarations and some coaching moves and a big thumbs up with Dickie V getting a clean bill of health and beating cancer. But tonight we're going to focus on, I want to get into the draft, and I've been wishy-washy on doing the draft, a deep dive into the draft on this show because it is a college show, but these are college kids until they're drafted, right? So we'll touch a little bit on, I was looking at the CBS consensus mock draft. It's very interesting and certainly not what we've seen from some of the other individual mock drafts. So we're going to take a quick look at round one there. I want to look at a very early look at some of the 2022 takeaways, playoff contenders, sleepers, who's overrated, maybe some teams to watch as potential first-time playoff participants. We'll talk about all of that and more, and I hope you guys will contribute tonight, as you always do. And bring some topics to the table. I want this show to get even more audience driven. You guys can bring topics and, I'll react to them. So bring your friends to the show. Gets harder as we get into the summertime. I know we'll probably, struggle for live viewership here and there. Good evening, Alan. Good to have you with us tonight. But gosh, we're getting some great, and I want to thank everybody and all the groups that let me share this show and all my shows. I mean, across all the platforms, some great viewership, whether it's here on TGI Sports Talk, whether it's on Northeast Streaming Sports, whether it's on Roku or YouTube, Twitter. Great responses. Good evening, Rick Sherlock. Good to have you. So anyway, we'll be pivoting towards college football. I think I am going to go through this. I wasn't going to do it tonight. I was going to really focus next week on the draft more, and we will. But I'm going to go through this mock draft. Maybe we'll talk about some of the top ranked guys in the positions. But I do want to take a quick look at the upcoming 2022 season as well, and keep the focus on the college side of this as much as possible. We will do some mock draft coverage. And don't forget, by the way, besides this show, and I'm sure Friday, Carlos and I will be talking some NFL draft. And next Friday, as we're past round one. We'll talk about it on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, but even more importantly, next Thursday night, live, the Mac and Jack special. I'll be co-hosting with Mac and Jack and Robert Butler from Sports Scope. It'll be live. I'll try to simulcast it here on TGI Sports Talk, but it'll be on Northeast Streaming Sports. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be live on Roku, I believe, that night as well. Not sure. I gotta get with Mac and check that out, but I think it's going to be live on Roku as well. Baker Mayfield's Heisman statue will be revealed this weekend at Oklahoma. It's a good point. And I did say I want you guys to bring topics because I want what you guys want to talk about to drive this show as always, especially here as we get through the summer months, and it's I want to bring relevant stuff to the table, right? So we'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about in the world of college sports, especially college football as we're heading into the season. And I want to get Larry Sorensen on here soon too. I reached out to him last week, as I do think he might have been hacked on his Facebook, by the way. But I didn't hear back from him. I know he's busy with Wake Forest baseball, but I wanted to get a take a little bit on the Wake Forest spring game and maybe the ACC early, kind of an early look at the ACC. So we'll get that together here in the coming weeks. But let's talk about this for a second. I know Baker Mayfield won a Heisman, and it's a great honor. But how does Baker Mayfield get a statue? He didn't win a national championship. He didn't even play for a national championship. It's funny that this topic should come up now. I just watched the last night an E60 report, special on ESPN Plus about the Joe Paterno. I can't remember the name of it now, but it really did a deep dive into the whole Penn State thing and Joe Paterno's statue coming down. So it's very interesting that as Baker Mayfield gets unveiled, I'm watching a special about Joe Paz coming down, and whatever you think about that situation, it seems odd Joe Paterno wouldn't have a statue and Baker Mayfield would. Just me. Who does it? Every campus, Alan? And is it the school? Is it the NCAA? Is it the Heisman group? Again, that's their own entity, right? The Heisman committee. Oh, so you're saying Oklahoma does it for all their winners. I see. All right. Well, statues are a dime a dozen today, apparently. I'm sorry, Alan. I'm just not a Baker Mayfield fan. Great college quarterback, but there's a lot of those. And we'll talk more about that too in the coming weeks, I'm sure. Well, now I'm confused. You just told me Oklahoma does it for all their Heisman winners. So this isn't something every Heisman Trophy winner gets, I'm sure. Because, go back to Penn State. I don't remember there being a Heisman statue of John Cappelletti, for instance. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but, I don't know. I'm just cranky tonight, probably. So I don't think I said hi to Kenny Gifford. Hello, Kenny Gifford. How are you? Hopefully all of your snow is melted. Listen, we got about 5 inches here in East Greenbush, and we're kind of in a pocket. So I can only imagine what you guys got in the outlying areas. I know a lot of you were without power, so hopefully that's getting straightened out. But by this morning, I didn't have a bit of snow left. So. And my poor neighbor, I watched him shoveling his driveway yesterday, and the only snow left in the entire neighborhood is the snow he piled up on the side of his driveway. Can't make it up. Anyway, I'm not sure. Carlos Arturo Chavez II has entered the transfer portal. Where did he? Oh, gosh, we're going to dive into, we'll talk about the transfer portal at some point, too. But tonight, let's dive in. I want to look real quick. Let's look at this. And I just brought this up. I wasn't even going to get into this, the mock drafts tonight. I was going to dive more into it tomorrow. But let's just take a quick look, because this is CBS Sports and a consensus of all these people they've had doing mock drafts throughout this late winter, early spring. And, there's a new mock draft every day. Alan, who does a lot of them and still has not picked anybody for the Patriots that I would pick. But that's another story. Anyway, I will tell you who I liked for them once we get to that pick, but now I don't know what I do with my notes. Oh, well. Anyway, We'll wing it. Weather's been bouncing between 40 and 90 in Oklahoma. Kenny got 18 inches, guys. This is upstate New York. April 19th, 18 inches of snow. And fortunately, Kenny has solar power, so he's not out of power. I know earlier today, some people up in that neck of the woods were still out of power. So hopefully that's your weather update for tonight. Hopefully everybody's safe and sound. And fortunately, we're not in the middle of winter when it was 20 below zero, right? So let's jump in real quick. Oh, not real quick. We got an hour and a half to spend here tonight. And guys, please, I want your comments. You got other topics you want to talk about, we'll jump into them. I am game for pretty much anything tonight, as I will be throughout the summer here, because we got to fill time, an hour and a half on Wednesday nights talking about college football before there is any college football. So, jeepers creepers, my banners all disappeared on me again. You know, life, I do need a producer. I got to hire somebody. So here we go. Let's take a quick look. Just round one. We'll go through this fairly quickly, depending on your guys' input. And this doesn't include any trades. I saw some crazy stuff, by the way. We're talking real quickly about the NFL draft. I mean, I saw some comments that Kyler Murray getting traded next Thursday night during the draft, DK Metcalf, among others. So you see a big trade with Kyler Murray. It's going to be very interesting. And there's a very interesting development in the quarterback situation in this latest mock draft from CBS Sports, which is, again, a consensus deal where they've kind of, I guess, given it weighted opinions. So we'll see how that goes. The grid was down. That was probably the Russians sending us. They probably got their weather machine going, and they've sent it over here to knock down the grid. And Debo, yes, Debo Sweeney, by the way, may be traded in this draft, run up to the draft as well. And I don't want to talk a lot about the NFL specifically because this is a college football show. But listen, Debo Sweeney is a great athlete, and whoever ends up with him, if he gets moved, it'll certainly have an effect on next year's season. What's a producer do? Can I fire the sad New York? No. You do not have hiring and firing rights as a producer. You'd be more like, Zero Mostel in The Producers, Mel Brooks' great play and movie. Anyway, let's dive into it. Round one, with the first pick in the draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is the one thing that everybody agrees on. Aiden Hutchinson, the edge rusher from Michigan, will be the number one pick in this draft. And I don't see any reason to think this pick will not happen. Well, he's the best player in the draft, most likely, I would say. The surest thing in the draft, let's put it that way. There certainly could. What did I say? Didn't I say Samuels, Rick? Did I say Debo Sweeney? Please tell me I didn't say Debo Sweeney. Oh, man. This show will be so much better when I'm actually retired in a couple of years, right? When I'm not burned out after working 12 hours. Pick 2. Detroit Lions select Trayvon Walker, defensive lineman. From Georgia. Georgia's going to have a lot of picks in this first round. In fact, I hope my team comes away with a guy from Georgia as well, which we'll get into in a little bit. Rick says I did say Sweeney. Oh, my God. They're not going to go tackle. I think Hutchinson is the guy for the Jaguars, by the way. And I cannot believe I said Debo Sweeney. Oh, my God. Oh, you guys crack me up and I crack myself up. Good thing don't take this so seriously, right? The Texans would pick number 3, and we can debate this. I'll stop here and there so we can debate this. I think Allen, for sure, the surest thing in this draft, maybe the only sure thing in this draft, is Aiden Hutchinson going number 1. With pick 3, the Texans, and again, guys, there's going to be trades, so these things are never going to happen this way. Evan Neal, offensive lineman from Alabama. they do have some quarterback need in Houston, so they could have gone Pickett, who, by the way, his stock seems to be rising here as we get closer to the draft. It had fallen a bit, and now it's rising, and maybe Willis is dropping. But Houston maybe is happy with Mills. I want to say Mills, the quarterback. He didn't play badly last year out of Stanford. So I'm not sure. Maybe they think he is a project that can, at least for this year, carry them through. Get out of here with Dean. Alan steals my thunder. Fourth pick, and I love this pick. This is, again, the Jets are up now with, there's been a lot of debate about this pick. There's been a lot of debate about this player. Kayvon Thibodeaux from, he's an edge rusher from Oregon. I still think he's, after Hutchinson, the best pass rusher in this draft. The Jets should be all over this guy and team him with Carl Lawson, who's coming back hopefully healthy and recovered from that Achilles injury last year. But there's been a lot of debate about this pick with the Jets, whether they should trade out of it. Carlos, of course, if you're here, he'd want to trade every pick the Jets and the Giants have. But I think Thibodeaux is the pick here at number 4 for the Jets. For the Giants, the first guy's name I will not be able to pronounce most likely. Let's give it a shot. Ikem Equinoa. Close enough. He is also a defensive lineman. I'm sorry, he's an offensive lineman. My glasses got to get fixed here. He is out of North Carolina State. And the Giants need help on the offensive line, of course, but I think there's offensive linemen to pick later in this draft. If I'm the Giants, I am not going that way here because, well, actually, they're going to get him with their next pick according to this. So Sauce Gardner's a guy that I would take if I were the Giants. I'd be worried. There's some talk that the Giants may trade out of one of these picks. If they do, Sauce Gardner's got to be the guy that they take with the pick they don't relinquish, in my mind. Overrated, which one are we talking about? Are we talking about Dean overrated? Don't think so. I think Dean, and I've wavered for the Patriots, and we'll get to them at 21. I've wavered back and forth between Lloyd from Utah and Dean from Georgia over and over. But Kenny, you may be a little behind, so I'm not sure whether that's who you're referring to or not. So you can certainly let me know. A big surprise here to me, and I do not see this happening. At number 6, Kenny Pickett goes to the Carolina Panthers out of Pittsburgh. Every projection I've seen has him there later on in the first round for the Steelers to take. At what, 20? This projection, I don't think this happens, by the way. I think this is going to be Malik Willis, who they've got falling way back into the 20s. I think Malik Willis is going to Carolina here, unless they decide to trade out of there and get a bunch of draft picks as well. And hope they can get Pickett or Willis back further in the first round. If I'm Carolina, the teams behind me, I mean, other than the Falcons, I don't think the Falcons are going to take either one of these quarterbacks. I really don't. You got to worry about Seattle, I guess. But you don't have to worry about the Giants. You don't have to worry about the Jets. You don't have to worry about, I guess you got to worry about Washington a little bit. I don't think you have to worry about the Vikings. I might trade back and not take this quarterback at 6. If, in fact, they want Kenny Pickett, I might trade back. But we'll see. And if the Giants hold on to that 7th pick, the consensus from CBS Sports is Ahmad Sauce Gardner, the number 1 cornerback in this draft, I think, by far. Even though Derek Stingley gets a lot of the press, Sauce Gardner's been been rising as we go forward here. Hello, Anthony Price. Good to see you. If I were the Panthers, would you trade for Baker and draft the other positions? I might do that. The rumors are that they don't want anything to do with Baker. And I think teams are sitting and waiting for the Browns to cut Baker Mayfield so they don't have to pay him. So that's a distinct possibility as well, Anthony. And again, if you just joined us, there's a lot of rumors about quarterbacks getting moved on draft day. Baker Mayfield's name will come up. Kyler Murray's name has been coming up. So along with Debo, not Sweeney, Debo Samuel. And who else did I mention earlier? Gosh, I forgot who I was talking about. Oh, DK Metcalf. Bunch of others. This could be a very busy trade night on draft night. So we'll see. And you can watch it all right here on Northeast Streaming Sports with the Mac and Jack draft special, which I'll be co-hosting with Mac and Jack and Robert Butler from Sports Scope, the Philly sports guy, will be live at the draft, as will Captain Jack, I think. I think Sneaky G may be out there, but the star out there will be the Philly sports guy for sure. Alan's talking about the Steelers have implied they would take Baker in a minute if he's released. I agree. But just listen, if he's released, they don't have first dibs on him. Baker's going to go where the best situation is for him, which probably is Pittsburgh. But it's also going to be who comes up with the money. Nobody's got to offer him a ton because Cleveland's going to have to pay him. But Baker's still going to want more money. So we'll see how that works off. At number 9, the Falcons take Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. I had him going to the Jets at 10, but they've got them locked into another wide receiver. I think this is probably a good pick and a good spot for the Falcons, unless they decide they want to go defense. And because one thing they've had trouble with in recent past is defense, and they may go for a Hamilton or a McDuffie. Or even a Stingley at defensive back instead of the wide receiver. But Garrett Wilson would be probably the top-rated pick at this point in this draft. Baker skipped the voluntary camp. He's gone. Well, they can't afford to keep both these guys. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk that they want to keep Mayfield because Watson's going to get suspended. Likely to get suspended, but you can't keep that kind of money on the books. Seattle is another spot for a quarterback, Pickett or Wilson. It's a possibility. And then with the 9th pick is Seattle in CBS's consensus poll, Derek Stingley Jr., who I still think may go to the Giants. Giants like him as well. If they don't take Sauce Gardner or can't get Sauce Gardner or trade back, Derek Stingley Jr. Could be going to the Giants as well. By the way, this is a kid that has ties to my team, the Patriots, and the fact that his grandfather, Derek Stingley, played wide receiver for the Patriots and was tragically paralyzed in a criminal assault of a hit by Jack Tatum in 1976 in a preseason game. Great story this past year on College Game Day, by the way, with Derek Stingley's dad, who had been keeping his father's jersey, his old Patriot jersey, number 84, and he gave it to his son at his high school graduation before he went to LSU. And I thought it was a pretty cool story. If you hadn't seen it, you probably won't be able to find it now, but who knows? Everything's out there living on the internet somewhere. So maybe you'll have trouble, or maybe you won't have any trouble finding it if you wanted to see that story. It's a really cool story. 49ers have a trade. Debo, they can't afford Debo, and Bosa in a new deal. Well, guess what? I don't want to dive too deep, as I said, into the NFL part of this outside of the draft, but this is kind of tied to the draft, so we'll touch on it. 49ers move I almost said it again. Samuel and or Bosa, they're not going to win 5 games next year. And the teams I've seen Samuel potentially going to the Cowboys. Tremendous help he would give the Cowboys. The Packers. Don't know that they can afford him, though. Again, listen, Rodgers has hamstrung the Packers with his contract. The most intriguing team is the Kansas City Chiefs. If he goes to the Chiefs, that offense is going to be unstoppable. Now, they got to stop somebody. We know that. But their defense will be unstoppable. Let's move on. Derek, with the 10th pick, the Jets take Drake London, wide receiver from USC. 12th ranked prospect by CBS overall. He comes in at pick number 10. He's ranked 3rd among the wide receivers. He goes 2nd. Again, this is the type of wide receiver who would help and can grow with Zach Wilson going forward. So this is a pick that I can see happening. I think I do believe the Jets should go. Again, if they don't trade out of this pick, they should go wide receiver. Now, they could trade back. We'll get to your comment in a second, John DeLon. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening to you, which I'm sure you got some comments about Derek Stingley Jr. Just to finish up on the Jets, if they don't trade, if they could trade back and still get wide receiver, because while this draft, in my mind, doesn't have over the top talent, it's deep and good talent and guys that are going to have, I think, long NFL careers and be steady contributors, if not superstars. I think it's pretty deep. Stingley had a monster interception in the end zone against Florida in 2019 LSU national championship season. He had a great couple of seasons. Last year, he fell off the radar just a little bit because of the struggles at LSU. I think, John, you can speak to that a little bit, but he's still a great talent, and he is going to make some NFL team very, very happy when he gets there. Vikings take McDuffie at 12 as Stingley's gone. Let's see how that sticks up with the pick here, which is coming up right after the Redskins pick, and their pick, Redskins. Washington, the team formerly known as the Redskins, take Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, the safety. Now, you would have to worry about maybe McDuffie going here, Rick. It's possible. Look, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Washington team formerly known as the Redskins takes a quarterback here as well. They're already pretty strong on the defensive side of the football. But I think Kyle Hamilton, really fits this defense pretty well. Out of Notre Dame, a junior. And, this is a kid who would have gone higher if it wasn't for his injury issues last year. And there's a few of those guys in this draft. And at number 12, Rick, your Minnesota Vikings do, in fact, according to the CBS consensus mock draft, it's out this afternoon, take Trent McDuffie, cornerback, out of Washington. And they get much needed help in the secondary. So that would be a good pick for your Minnesota Vikings. Again, this is not a team I can see. I don't see a lot of these teams making a reach for the quarterback. That's why I think Carolina, if they don't go the Baker Mayfield route, or even Seattle, these teams could trade back. If they want Willis, if they want Pickett, they could trade back and get him later in the first round. Because I don't think these other teams that you'd think might be thinking quarterback, like the Redskins, the team formerly known as the Redskins, the Vikings, the Texans, they're not in love with these guys, and they're not going to invest, this high a draft pick in a quarterback. It's very obvious what we're seeing. Remind me, Anthony, who's your team? I've forgotten. I apologize. But give me a heads up. I got to catch up with John's comments here before we move on to the 13th pick in the draft. John says it wasn't just Stingley that sat out 2021. LSU had a ton of players on the IR after it became obvious at Oregon, or Orgeron was a lame duck. Yeah. It's very sad what happened with LSU last year for sure. The last couple of years, right after they won a national championship, and Stingley and other guys sitting out didn't help the situation any. But listen, Ed Orgeron caused his own issues in LSU. And John, you're closer to the situation than me. But yeah, it's interesting, John. I don't know if you were here when I brought this up, but this is the first time today, in my mind, first time I've seen any mock draft, and this is a consensus mock draft that came out this afternoon from CBS, had Carolina going for Kenny Pickett. Every other place I've seen him picked was 15 and below, 18 and below maybe. And most of them had Pittsburgh getting him at 20. So it's very interesting to see what happens. The Commanders. I can't do it. The Redskins to me are the Redskins. The Guardians are the Indians. You know, I know I'm trying to become more woke, Rick, and it's just not working out. Washington. That's right, Anthony. So you said, let's see, what'd you say? Wide receiver or safety? So, well, you got your safety, according to CBS, and Kyle Hamilton, and a damn good one as well. So I think that's probably a very good pick. Wide receiver would be a good spot here too, but probably if London and Wilson are gone, I don't know that they're going to reach for a wide receiver at that spot, unless maybe Jameson Williams from Alabama piques their interest enough. I think he's going to go to the Eagles, as does this draft, by the way. Yeah, Carolina's pick is way too high for a career backup like Pickett. I don't disagree. I mean, this is, again, why some teams, in my mind, Anthony, that you would think normally would be in the market for a quarterback. Even guys with high price guys like Cousins at $40 million, you're not going to pay him that for long, and you're not having any success with him anyway. Teams that you would normally think, like the team formerly known as the Redskins, the Vikings, the Texans, the Falcons, they're not going all in on these two guys. I like Malik Willis, and I think Malik Willis is going to be a star in this league. Kenny Pickett, I'm not so sure about. So we'll see what happens there, but I like that call. So at number 13, Texans' second pick in the first round is offensive lineman Charles Cross from Mississippi State. So another offensive lineman off the board. Again, this is why I don't know that the Jets and Giants need to go this high. There's offensive linemen throughout this draft. The Patriots need offensive linemen, and I don't think they're going to be taking one in their first couple of picks, to be honest with you. Don't know where my pick sheet went. Wish I had it in front of me here. I thought I did. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I don't have the Patriots taking one till the fourth pick, and that's Munford out of Ohio State. So anyway, I think, and that's in the fourth round. So there's some quality offensive linemen out there. John O'Neill, quarterback from this draft cast. I kind of like his you know what? He's kind of won over some people too since the season ended, and he was hobbled by an injury the second half of last season, which hurt his stock probably. And it's possible somebody's going to come out of here with a steal in Corral and maybe the second round. Maybe that's where Seattle goes. But I have not seen many picks with him in the first round. I have seen him. You know, I would certainly rate him above the Sam Howells of this draft. I mean, this is probably one of the weakest quarterback drafts that I can remember in recent history for sure. But Castle's going to be going to really be a surprise. Not a surprise, but he's going to be a gift for somebody later than he normally would have been if he didn't suffer that injury last year, most likely. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens. They picked Jermaine Johnson II out of Florida State, edge. They need a pass rusher. He's a very good player. And probably the only Florida. You remember when Florida State was, would dominate? Florida State, Miami, Florida would dominate the first couple of rounds of this draft with players. It really speaks volumes how far the state of Florida has fallen. 2011. Who were those guys, by the way, Alan? Let's take a quick look if I can see what I can pull up here. Hold on. 2011 quarterback draft class. Let's see what I can find real quick. Alan will be all over this before me. quarterback draft. Great TV, Keith. Oh, 2011. That's 2001. How about I put in the right year? All right, here we go. Jake Locker, Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton. Listen, as much as I dislike Cam, I can't say that, he's probably at his peak, he was probably a better quarterback than either any of these guys will turn out to be, in my mind, at his peak. But that's it. That's pretty bad. Top 5 quarterbacks: Locker, Kaepernick, Newton, Ponder, and Gabbert. Pretty good call there, Alan. I believe the Liberty quarterback Willis is a reach. Yeah, but he is raw, and he draws comparisons to Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray now has his growth has been stunted a little bit in Arizona, and his maturity is being questioned and things like this. But I like Willis, and I think the way the league is built today, a lot of teams have built themselves. I think a guy like Willis is certainly, and he may be a reach, Rick. I'm not saying he's not, and he's certainly not a lock. Nobody is. But I think he's the best bet of these quarterbacks. And I think Corral would be right behind him to become a contributing member of a team in this league. Pickett, I agree with John DeLon. He's likely going to be a career backup. All right. Back to it. Where was I? Now I lost there we go. Okay, so who did I pick last? So with the 15th pick, Jamison Williams to the Eagles out of Alabama. Alabama's going to have a few wide receivers go again. Again, I liked Michi to go in the 3rd round, actually, to the Patriots. So that's another place I like an Alabama wide receiver. With the 16th pick, Trevor Penning, offensive lineman from Northern Iowa, goes to New Orleans. That's one of the picks traded from the Eagles. And the last pick the Eagles made was traded from the Dolphins. Got a couple comments here. There's a guy that runs his college football statistics, Dave Bartow, CFB Matrix. Now he needs to pay me for the spot. Sorry. Site swears that this year's quarterback class will have more career wins than last year's quarterback draft class. I just don't see it today. Again, this guy compiles numbers and probably knows a whole lot more than I do, John. So who knows? It's a crapshoot every year. Did you hope you didn't type that twice? Oh, gosh. With the 17th pick, the San Diego Chargers take Kenyon Green, offensive lineman out of Texas A&M. Chargers are going to be good this year. Chargers are going all in to win now. They got a young quarterback who is really, really good in Herbert, and I think they need to protect that guy. And I think this is a good pick for them in this spot. This is one I certainly will not argue with. You didn't see it either. At 18, with a pick they got from the New Orleans Saints, the Eagles take George Karlaftis, another edge rusher out of Purdue. This is a guy who could end up going a little bit higher, I think, but we'll see. There are people that have him going a bit higher, and there are people that also have the Eagles addressing other positions here, like cornerback and safety, rather than going with the edge rusher here. But this is the kind of pick that, some of these teams, if the Eagles are as close as they think they are, then you ought to be taking the best player available. And I think it's possible he's gone before this, but good pick if he's still there at 18. If he were there at 21, he might go to the Patriots. Who knows? We got here. Knowing Jerry will get an offensive lineman at Chris Olave. Chris Olave is actually going next in this pick to the New Orleans Saints. and another one of these picks acquired from the Eagles here just recently. Chris Olaf, wide receiver from Ohio State, goes to New Orleans. New Orleans sometimes, and I've read a lot of stories where New Orleans thinks that they're ready to win. They don't have a quarterback. And I think there's a lot of problems there's cap issues. They've lost their head coach. They don't have a quarterback. And again, this is something you may be able to speak to, John DeLon. Sorry, I almost said John DeLorean, which would be a very big insult, I'm sure, to most people who recognize the name. Neil Bush is here tonight. Good evening, Neil. He makes plays, destroyed Michigan State. I'm sure you're talking about Karlaftis. I'm sure I'm butchering his name. Drew could help me out. Great player. And he did destroy, in my mind, he destroyed a lot of teams in the Big Ten. Where guys like Hutchinson get all the ink, Karlaftis is a very good player as well. And I think he may well go before this pick, as I said, Neil. So we'll see. Stephen Jones takes Linderbaum from Iowa. We're going to see in a second. Neil, make sure you tune in. We have a draft special on Northeast Streaming Sports next week. I'll be co-hosting with Mac and Jack from the Mac and Jack Show. The whole first round, and Robert Butler from Sports Scopes will be on TGI Sports Talk. We'll be on at least I'll try to simulcast it, and but it'll be live on Northeast Streaming Sports. It'll be live on Roku that night. If you haven't downloaded the Northeast Streaming app, please do that. And we'll be there live the entire first round, and the Philly Sports Guy will be live in Vegas for the draft. So. John, it's hard to go wrong drafting offensive tackles. They're very important picks, right? Again, I just feel like the offensive line goes fairly deep here. There's a kid from Boston College I haven't seen come up yet. Zion, I have not seen come up. So we'll see. I like him. And if he's there, the Cowboys ought to be taking him. I think, Neil Bush. We'll see where they go, at least in this CBS mock draft that I'm going off of right now. Back to John. It's hard to go wrong drafting offensive tackles because lots of times, worst case scenario, if they don't work out tackle, they just slide a guard. Agreed. It happens a lot. And versatility is important along the line in the NFL today. Teams like to be able to move guys around, and I think you'll see that with some of the guys we're going to be talking about. You'd love that pick. Which one? Linderbaum? Linderbaum's a good kid. He donated all of his NIL money to an Iowa charity. Yes, I saw this story, and it is a great story, John, so I'm glad that you brought it up because you don't see a lot of these stories happening. NIL is a different topic, and I'm not even going to get into it tonight. Myself and the Mad New Yorker have had several debates about this, and I can't seem to get through to him how dangerous this is. With the 20th pick in the first round. Good call there, John. Malik Willis, quarterback to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett, who has been the consensus pick here throughout many of these mock drafts in the late winter, early spring. Now we have Malik Willis going to the Steelers. And listen, I do think the Steelers would probably win if this were to work out this way, but we'll see whether that'll happen or not. Cowboys need a center. Well, the kid from, and I still haven't found white. I forget his name now. I got it written down on my. I think it's just Zion. Isn't it just Zion Johnson? I think from Boston College. He plays all across the line. I think the Cowboys should be taking him. We'll see what the consensus draft has up in store for them. With the 21st pick, the consensus from CBS Sports is Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah. Now, he's one of the guys, and the Patriots need cornerback, linebacker, wide receivers. I think the wide receiver position is fairly deep, so I don't see him going wide receiver here. I kind of threw some names out there. Lloyd was one of the guys that I had here. Some of the other guys I knew were not going to fall this far. I've seen drafts where Dean, the edge rusher, the linebacker, excuse me, The linebacker from Georgia had gone before this pick, and that's the only way I think the Patriots go to Lloyd if he's there and Dean from Georgia is gone. So I disagree with this pick vehemently. We'll see. There's a local kid that was on Channel 10 hoping to be drafted. He played for Boston College. Can't remember his name. I'm not sure either, Rick. We get a chance here, we'll try to take a look for it. Alan, you can Google that for me. My ombudsman, Alan from Oklahoma. How about Googling upstate New York, Boston College football player, NFL prospect, something like that. I don't know. Let's move on to the Green Bay Packers to take Bernhard Rahman, offensive lineman from Central Michigan. Packers need help everywhere, especially they need wide receivers. They need offensive linemen. They need some defensive help. And again, and defensive line would be another place that I think Green Bay could go here. So they're probably going to take the best player available because they've got so many positions to fill. And Rodgers has really hurt them, in my mind, as far as being able to bring in any kind of high-priced talent like a Metcalf or a Deebo Samuel, if he does in fact get traded, because again, they don't have unlimited funds in Green Bay. And once again, Aaron Rodgers takes his money and runs. With the Cardinals pick, number 23, they take Treylon Burks, wide receiver out of Arkansas, a guy the Patriots like. Again, I don't see them going with a wide receiver in the first round. I don't see them taking a wide receiver, until, as I mentioned, until the third round with John Mechie, the third from Alabama, who stock fell. He probably would have been a first-round pick without the knee injury. But again, he tore an ACL, which is not as bad as tearing both. And today it's a pretty, I don't want to say it's an easy recovery, but it's much less invasive surgery. And he likely will recover. So again, I think this is a good pick here for the Cardinals, though, as they do have some age at wide receiver, and AJ Green they have to replace, and they need somebody to play on the other side of Hopkins, and maybe they need a quarterback. Don't know what's going to happen with Kyler Murray come draft night. A lot of rumors about Kyler Murray. Here comes your Cowboy pick, gentlemen. Neil Bush, Allen, Zion Johnson, offensive lineman, Boston College. Again, this guy, I think this guy's a long time. This will be a 15-year career guy. And he can play him at center, Neil. You can play him at guard. You can play him at tackle. And I think he's a guy that there's a lot of teams that could use a guy as versatile as this guy to kind of build their line around. So I think this is a really good pick for the Dallas Cowboys, in my mind. And I know you guys will have some comments, so as I will come back to them once we get through here, or once I see a few up there. The Buffalo Bills, with the 25th pick, take Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback out of Clemson. Booth would be a nice replacement for Levi Wallace, who signed with the Steelers as a free agent. So a nice pick, I think, for Buffalo there. Neil's okay with that pick. And again, none of these picks will likely happen once trades start getting made and they, throw us all kinds of curveballs. But be watching with us next week. 7, I think we're on at 7, right through the end of the first round. Pick number 27. You know who's not gone yet here? I'm surprised, is your prize defensive lineman, Rick, out of Georgia. Patriots were all over him, and he was a Patriots pick in a lot of these mock drafts early on. And I did see recently where he was going much higher than the Patriots pick at 21. At 26, the Tennessee Titans take Jahan Dotson, wide receiver out of Penn State. They need some receivers to help out Tannehill. I'm just not a big Tennessee fan. I don't know about this pick. I do think they need some help on the offensive line as well. So this is a team also that could be interested in Nakobe Dean from Georgia, if in fact he's still around now when they pick. And if he gets by the Patriots, I will be very upset. And here we go. I just was mentioning this to you, Rick, that I was surprised. I've seen very, very, as I said, early on in these mock drafts, or for a long time, I saw Jordan Davis getting picked by the Patriots. Then I started seeing him move up the draft boards, going higher. And as of today, this consensus CBS mock draft that we're kind of reviewing right now has him going, which you'll hate this probably, Rick, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 27. He'd be a great, great fit on that Buccaneer defense, and I think he'd be a great pick for the Buccaneers as they try to go to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years with one Tom Brady under center and a brand new head coach to replace the man who thinks he invented football. Nice pick for the Pats. I don't know that he'll make it this far. I think Rick is right. Davis has been talked up and up and up, and I was surprised when I kept seeing him fall to 21. And then the last few weeks, a lot of mock drafts I saw, he had worked his way back up into the top 15, top 12 in some cases. Now he's falling backwards. The Mad New Yorker makes an appearance. Good evening, Carlos. Tennessee will pick edge rusher or cornerback. Well, you'd have CBS saying something different. Who knows? Again, this thing will probably be entirely wrong, but you're probably right. Everybody needs those positions. I can tell you right now. Penn State has wide receivers run special teams really well. Penn State wide receivers run special teams really well. Good point. Good point. And I believe, was he the second Penn State wide receiver or was he the first? Well, we had another one go. I'm just looking back here real quick. Now, guess he was the first guy. I think I saw him going much earlier, Dotson, excuse me, in some of these drafts. So be interesting to see if he's there. And according to Carlos, Tennessee will not be picking him anyway. So, listen, the only way I'm okay with Nakobe Dean not becoming a Patriot is if he gets drafted before they pick at number 21. I kind of agree that Davis is going to have trouble getting past the Saints and maybe a couple other teams as well here, John. So it'll be very interesting if he's still there. If he's there, what a great steal for the Buccaneers at 27. Davis, Davis before 19, according to Allen. Well, I'll tell you what. Again, if I'm Jerry Jones or Steve Jones or whoever's going to make the pick, you and Neil can decide who's making that pick, Alan. And it comes down to Davis or Zion Johnson. I'm taking Zion Johnson. I just think you need to fortify that once great offensive line. It's not that good anymore. And I think it's time to do that. I'm sure that Rick is talking about Jordan Davis here. We're in a 4.78 at the combine at 360 pounds. That's pretty good. I can do that myself at 100 pounds less in about, 15 seconds or so, probably. Moving on. The 28th pick, Green Bay Packers, second pick in the first round. None of these will happen. Out of North Dakota State, little surprise here, Christian Watson, wide receiver. He is probably the best. He's rated eighth on the wide receiver list. And they do need some help at that position. So this could be a place where Green Bay goes wide receiver. So we'll see. and we're going to have back-to-back picks coming up from the Kansas City Chiefs. One of them surprises me a bit. I like the kid, but I just think he might be a reach here in the first round. What do you got here? Although now that I think about it, Jordan Davis with millions of dollars in New Orleans restaurants seems like a formula for a 400-pound bust. That's an excellent point. That could happen anywhere, anywhere in the league, probably. Well, here you go. Skye Moore. You can see. I think you're talking about Green Bay. Skye Moore's name has been really rocketing up the draft boards these last few weeks as well. We're going to talk about him in a second. But with pick number 29, Kansas City is taking Boy Maffey, defensive lineman out of Minnesota. They really need some defensive help at Kansas City, and this is, will be a step in the right direction. I would think they're going to go defense with the next pick as well. I think they need to go defensive back with this next pick, but according to CBS, Skye Moore, who Alan just mentions for Green Bay, goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, we talked about Samuel maybe getting traded to the Chiefs, that being one of his destinations or possible destinations. That offense would be unstoppable, adding Samuel to what they already have there, and Juju Smith and Kelsey and Hardeman and the rest of these guys. I don't think they're going to take a wide receiver here, though. I think they will try to get Samuel, and they can take wide receiver later on. Believe me, there are some good wide receivers later on in this draft, I think. And I don't think the Chiefs ought to go wide receiver here. They ought to go defense again, but that's who they got. So we got a couple more comments here. Whoops, we'll get this one first. The Chiefs won't keep these two picks. John Carter, good evening, John Carter. Good to have you here. We are factoring in any trades here. There was another mock draft I was looking at that had so many trades. Oh my God. And that may be what happens. I think there's going to be a lot of moving up and down the board by some of these teams with multiple picks in the first round. So good call, John. They could package these deals, as you say here, for Deebo Samuel. So that would be, well, I will try to refrain from calling Deebo Sweeney, which I did earlier. So good call there, John Carter. You're all over that. But I don't think they can't. They've got to fortify that defense. So they got to keep one of these picks. They got to go defense. If they keep the picks, I think they need to go defense with both. Find another way. It's not like the cupboard's bare on the offensive side of the football here. John DeLon is back on New Orleans West restaurants. They're notorious for putting weight on people. Almost every year at the Sugar Bowl, one of the coaches complains that one of his players put on 10 pounds since arriving in New Orleans. Sounds like me when I get off a cruise ship. The gas from the crowd when trades are announced are one of the most fun things at the draft. And we'll see some of that when we're on live next Thursday, guys, with our Northeast Streaming Sports Mac and Jack Show NFL Draft Special, because the Philly sports guy will be live on that floor getting some of that reaction. It'll be a lot of fun. It will be a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun doing this last year. We'll have some special guests in, too, by the way. Mac and Jack Show regular Cowboy great for Alan and Neil. Hope you're still here, Neil. Jim Jeffcoat will be joining us that night. He's on every Sunday morning with Mac and Jack, by the way, and I come on for 8:10. I'm on for 15, 20 minutes with the three of them. Jim Jeffcoat's a great guy, and he's a lot of fun on the show. We had a lot of fun with him. He'll be joining us for a short period of time, and I know Byron Williams, former Philadelphia Eagle and Giant, will join us as well. Finishing up the last two picks of the first round. Didn't think I was going to go this long with this tonight, but that's fine. Some of this other stuff we'll keep until next week for sure. The Bengals with the 31st pick take Kaiir Elam, cornerback, Florida. So two guys from Florida get drafted, or the state of Florida. One from Florida, one from Florida State. The Bengals do need some a cornerback help. You know, they were kind of doing it with Mears last year, and they probably need somebody to challenge Eli Apple at that cornerback spot. He played, played okay for the Bengals last year after washing out of New York with the Giants, and I think New Orleans as well. But I think they do need to get some depth in that secondary. They need offensive line help, though, too. So don't. But again, I do think they can get that later in the draft. But don't discount the fact they could take offensive linemen here as well. What do you got, Alan? Villanova coach Jay Wright is considering stepping down. Well, we'll get to that. That's breaking news here, which we'll get to maybe before we wrap up here in the next half hour. I spent a lot more time on this than I thought I would tonight, so that's good though. This is the way I wanted this show to go. I wanted you guys to carry me. And with the last pick in the first round, the Detroit Lions select Nakobe Dean. He's not getting past the Patriots. So this will not be Nakobe Dean. Maybe it'll be Lloyd from Utah. But that's our first round. And that's CBS's consensus poll. Just a reminder. So this is like all their writers and everybody, they did some kind of, mathematic formula, which guys like me from Perth Central High School are not that good at, and came up with this mock draft, which I'll tell you what, I just don't think is going to probably come to much fruition. Again, I don't see Pickett going to Carolina. If Carolina has that pick, I think they'll trade out of it. So a lot of interesting stuff there. A lot of good comments from you guys there. Let's jump into a couple other things. I don't know. We're certainly not going to get into my some of my filler topics here. We can certainly talk about anything else you guys want to chat about. And I'll touch on a few other things. I may go. I don't know where we're going to go from here. What do you got here, John? Belichick doesn't really let linebackers as smart as Dean get past him. Agreed, 100%, John. Lloyd is another possibility. Don't get me wrong. I look at if Dean goes before the Patriots and get to him, I'm okay taking Lloyd because I think they're similar players. I like Dean better, but they are the kind of guys that Bill Belichick just thrives on. He loves those types of guys. And Alan says the Lions are taking a quarterback. Let's be real. Look I don't know that they're in love with Desmond Ridder. I see Ridder. I do like Ridder, by the way. There's a guy that we forgot about in our comments. He may have moved up, to the third spot in my mind. He could be a guy Seattle goes for in the second round. He could be a guy that the team formerly known as the Redskins look to draft. Not in the first round, though. Again, these teams are not in love with these guys. It's very, just because they're quarterbacks don't mean they got to go in the first round. I can think of a really good one. His name's escaping me right now, but he went, in the sixth round, 199th pick in the draft. And yeah, I think he's still playing. I don't know. Florida someplace. What do you got here, Carlos? The picks for Tennessee. What is that? I don't know what that is. Is that a link of some kind they can click on, Carlos? I can't click on it, but if it's a link, share the hyperlink so they can click on it. I wouldn't want Ridder as an undrafted free agent. I think Ridder is going to have a career in this league, John. I really do. He is not going to be, a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he might be a guy that, can manage a game and could be a career backup. Listen, Colt McCoy is still playing in this league. Let's not forget. Who are some of the other guys that are always getting jobs? Of course, none of them are coming to my mind right now. There's 3 or 4 guys out there that just keep getting jobs. They keep moving around the league. They've been on 10 teams. You can't tell me you can't tell me that Ridder can't be one of those types of guys. Yeah, I like the team formerly known as the Redskins. I do too, John. I'm sorry. I apologize to my more woke people in the audience, but I'm never going to be woke. It's me. What you see is what you get. Team formerly known as the Redskins is the best you'll get rather than me calling them the Redskins. Yeah, it's a link I picked on Mondays with the sports buffoons. Okay, if it's fine, guys. And let me put that up one more time. Carlos picks. I'll check it out later, Carlos. We can talk about it. And you and I will probably be talking a little draft talk, I'm sure, Friday anyway. We'll connect tomorrow. I want to make sure that we know what we're going to be dealing with there for sure. What else we got here you want to talk about? Oh, that's you. Alan, Ryan Fitzpatrick, perhaps the best career backup. Listen, Ryan Fitzpatrick has made more than any Ivy League football quarterback ever out of, probably having 10 good games in his entire career. He had them at the right times when he was coming up for a contract. So Fitzy's done a great job, making himself a lot of money with nothing more than just a big beard. The next time Ritter looks at a second wide receiver read will be the first time. Guy's not, well, listen, he's going to get coached up a little different in the NFL too. Let's not forget, John. He's not going to be Burrow. Nobody's going to be Joe Burrow. Not in this draft. Anyway, good stuff. All right, let's see. What are we going to move on to now? We talked about some of the top prospects. Who else is there? I mean, who do we miss, guys? Who do we miss? Let me go through the draft prospects and see who didn't get picked in this first round that we just went through. I want to look. I had like the number one. Oh God, where is that? Somewhere here. Here we go. Top 300 prospects. This is from ESPN. So Hutchinson, I'm going to look for guys that he's got ranked in the top 25 that did not go in the top 25. Quay Walker from Georgia. Breece Hall, running back. That's a linebacker from Georgia, by the way. Breece Hall, running back from Iowa State. Tyler Lindenbaum did not get drafted in the first round in this mock draft we just did. It's very likely Lindenbaum's going in the first round. Daxton Hill, safety from Michigan. Who is this guy who's ranking these guys? This is Matt Miller's ESPN Plus. I'm looking for some guys that did not get drafted. Charles Cross. Maybe Charles Cross got picked, sorry. The rest all went. I mean, he's got, Karlaftis, Purdue down in the 26. I've got him higher than where he got picked. What do I know? Boy Maffei, 30. Andrew Booth, 32, already gone. Kenny Pickett, 33. Zion Johnson, 35. Well, according to him, we got some reaches already. Now, he does have Matt Corral ahead of. Does he have? No, he doesn't have him. He's got him the third pick, the third quarterback going. So that's some interesting. Going to be very interesting to see which one of these things comes true, right? Oh, what do we got? Fitzmagic. I get that. The Mad New Yorker loves Fitzmagic. No, he doesn't. Listen, again, I can't fault Fitzpatrick, man. He's made a ton of money. Starting when he's with the Bills. He beat the Patriots one of the years the Patriots won a Super Bowl, I believe. Bills got off to like a 2-3-1 start or something. They signed him to a gazillion-dollar contract, and he's been making money ever since off of those 5 games and then some other, decent seasons in Tampa Bay and New York. And this guy, I think he'll probably play with every team in the league before he leaves. John DeLon thinks Thibodeau has bust written all over him. I don't. I know there's a lot of debate. He's a very polarizing figure. I've had him at number 4 to the Jets all along. And I know last year was not a great year for him or the Oregon Ducks. But I still think he's got the talent to make it on this level and make it pretty big. Former Pittsburgh Steelers Lake's son, will make noise as a 3rd or 4th round pick. What's his name? Carlos Carnell Lake? I don't know. I can't quite get there. On a sad note, Haskins' wife said he ran out of gas and called her. That's a good point. I mean, Ohio State's going to honor Dwayne Haskins. Very tragic loss of life for Mr. Haskins, former number 1 draft pick with the Redskins, team formerly known as the Redskins. His wife said he ran out of gas and called her and then was cut off. So that's pretty sad if, he got run over by this dump truck while he was on the phone with his wife. It's a sad story all the way around. And we've said it here before, tragic, 24 years old, I think, to any 24-year-old loses their life. It's certainly a tragic event. And our heart goes out to him, his family and his wife and everybody that was close to him. Obviously, just because a guy doesn't make it, and there were some pretty insensitive comments made by some of the talking heads after this tragedy happened. About making comments about his not living up to expectations in the NFL, which didn't need to be made at that point in time. They could be made later. But when you're reporting on the death of a 24-year-old, I don't think there's any need to get into that level of conversation because, whether he succeeded or didn't succeed on the NFL level is irrelevant when this kind of tragedy happened. So I think those guys who kind of spoke out without thinking were right to get slapped down a little bit. It wasn't for lack of trying. By all accounts, the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, to a man, loved this kid. Don't know whether he ever would have been their starting quarterback, but they loved him as a person and as a teammate. So, just a tragic story for sure. And one that, who knows? Well, this news will probably continue to trickle out, but it gets sadder every time we talk about it. What else? We'll talk about some other news. Let's just get on some. We only got like 15 minutes left, so let's jump around a little bit. Let me pull up some news. See what we got in the world of news in college or college football or college basketball. So let's just take a quick look here. See what's been going on. See what I missed. College football. I want to get to a couple of college basketball things too. We've got former Alabama wide receiver Halls transferring to Texas. We'll talk about the 23 class is going to start to look very interesting, right? And some of these teams, as I mentioned before, who struggled a bit in 2022 with their draft classes, 23 is going to become a very important thing. And don't forget, Arch Manning is in that draft class, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. With these teams that have had a bit of a struggle this year. I mean, here's 5 teams I think that have really important, and we're starting to see early commits now for 23. USC, I think, is really got an important draft class coming up in 23 as they've struggled on the recruiting trail prior to Lincoln Riley taking over. So he started out behind. He's done really well in the transfer portal. And he's moved some guys from, that had committed elsewhere. But 2023 is going to be huge, I think, for them. Clemson, another team because they've not had good recruiting cycles here recently, which has led to their downturn this past year, which again, a lot of teams would think it was a very good year. Just to be clear, Clemson's year last year was not the bottom falling out, but they've had some struggles the last couple of years. So it's going to be important that they get back on track for 2023 in my mind. Nebraska, Scott Frost, actually, I think this year in his revamped staff, they had like the 61st best recruiting class of 2022. They're going to need to make this team has really got to figure out how to turn this whole program around. This is one of the poster children for what's wrong with college football and what's wrong with this whole realignment that's been going on since 2000. Well, we see 2012, but it really started before that with the breaking up of the old Southwest Conference and all these Texas teams going to the Big 12 and some of them going to the SEC. And Nebraska needs to right the ship. College football's better when Nebraska's good. Florida Gators, another team that struggled. We talked about these Florida teams, and I would throw Florida State and Miami into this mix as well. The Florida teams have had trouble recruiting. The state of Florida, which they owned for decades. But now those kids are going to LSU. Those kids are going to Alabama and Georgia. They're going to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. They got to find a way to get them to stay home. And Auburn's another team that comes to mind. Brian Harsin barely kept his job this year. They had some troubles with recruiting this year because of some of the talk about his treatment of players and assistant coaches. And it's got to hurt your recruiting efforts when those types of allegations are put out there. And, he needs to turn this around and get recruits to come back into the fold here if he's going to keep his job past this year. And he's going to have to start turning it around now because they're recruiting for 2023 already. And we all know the crown jewel of 2023 class is going to be Arch Manning. And we've talked about where he's going. He's not going to any one of these schools we just mentioned. We don't think. Well, all of a sudden, Virginia's in the mix. Virginia gets a visit from Arch Manning. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that 2023 recruiting class. Let's see. I've got a few. Neil Bush, Texas has a quarterback too. Yeah, well, Texas is also on Arch Manning's list as well for 2023. So we'll see what happens there. South Carolina. Listen, this is Neil. Awesome point. Again, we haven't talked a lot about Shane Rattler. We did talk about Spencer Rattler. Shane Rattler. Yikes. This is going to be an under the radar thing. Spencer Rattler was one of the higher recruited guys coming out of high school when he went to Oklahoma. Things didn't work out there for him. He had a couple of bad games and the team struggled. The whole offense struggled, and then Caleb Williams came in and played better. So probably just wasn't a good fit for Rattler. And I think Rattler can probably turn it around at a place where he's going to be a little more under the radar, like South Carolina. The expectations aren't to go and win an SEC title and compete for a national championship. South Carolina has got themselves a really good quarterback here. And I'll say this again, go back. If you guys have Netflix, there's a series called QB1. I've mentioned it many times on this show and some of my other shows. There's a show called QB1. It hasn't been on a couple of years because of the COVID situation, but it follows like 3 or 4. I don't remember the number now. The top high school prospects through their senior years in high school and the recruiting process as they're making decisions where to go to football, go play football. And you've seen guys like Hartman from Wake Forest has been on. Rattler was on. Josh Fields was on that show, as was former Georgia quarterback who got drafted a couple years ago. Rick helped me out. Went to Buffalo, was with the Giants last year. I don't know why his name. I always liked the kid too. So anyway, it follows these guys throughout their senior years. Shane Rattler was one of Spencer Rattler. What's it with me in names tonight again? My Norm Crosby mouth. Spencer Rattler was one of these guys they followed around. He did not finish his senior year in high school. He did not finish the senior season in football. He was suspended from the football team. Nobody knows why still. But anyway, the show itself is really, really good. Nebraska isn't going to right the ship with Frost. Frost needs blue chip linemen to win the Big Ten, and he's just not getting them. I agree. Frost has not done a good job there. They started to turn around last year. This is a key season. And again, you know what? I got on Aaron Boone for keeping his job this year, and to me, I lost all respect for Aaron Boone when he throws his coaches under the bus, so he can keep his job, right? If your best friend in baseball is going to get fired and you keep your job, then you should hang your head because you should have followed him right out the door when they said they were getting rid of him. Same thing with Scott Frost. The only way he could keep his job was to make significant changes in the staff. And you know what? He better win now. This team played a lot of close games last year, but they did not know how to win games. And even if they, start to win some of those games that they were losing last year, that's still a long ways away from competing for a Big Ten championship. So anyway, again, it's sad to see the state of some of these schools since the realignments that have been going crazy for the last 10 years and are going to continue, by the way. We'll get into this. Some of Dabo Sweeney's comments about, there's going to be super conferences and, there's going to be a breakup of the NCAA. I see it coming. I can see it coming. And it's not going to be, this isn't my grandfather's college football, NCAA college football as it is. Traditional rivalries are gone. The Nebraska, Oklahomas, just gone. The Florida teams. Neil Bush brings up the Florida teams. Musical chairs for coaches. UCF is probably the most stable. They probably are the most stable team in Florida right now. They're going to the Big 12. Great facilities there. The problem is, I just mentioned, they can't keep kids in school, in state. And again, part of this is the way the landscape has changed in college football. The whole realignment has just cost us so many traditional rivalries that it's really sad. Rattler struggled against Big 12 defenses. I don't think the defenses are better in the SEC though, John. I saw an awful lot of 50 to 45 games in the SEC last year. I would say overall the defenses were better in the Big 12 last year. Oklahoma State, Baylor, to name two top defenses. Jake Fromm, thank you very much, Rick. Jake Fromm, love Jake Fromm in college. By the way, Kirby Smart chose Jake Fromm over Fields, let's remember as well. Worked out in the end without either one of them. But what's Tom Herman? Why Tom Herman? Tom Herman couldn't win at Texas. How's he going to recruit to Nebraska? So offer him just as much money as they can afford to give him. Nebraska could be a team that peaks hard every 3 or 4 years with Herman. That's the best they can. Maybe it is the best they can do, but Herman didn't show me anything stepping up in class from Houston to Texas. I don't think the SEC defenses are better. I really don't. Overall, John, let me be clear. Overall. And just because kids are getting drafted into the NFL doesn't mean the kids that aren't good college defenses. There's a lot of great college quarterbacks that aren't getting drafted in the NFL either. NFL and every high school recruiting service strongly disagrees with you. Well, that's not unusual. Most people strongly disagree with me, John. I don't think the defenses are awful in the Big 12. Overall. How good was Alabama's defense last year, by the way? Not very good. How about Ole Miss? How about LSU? Georgia nobody was as good as Georgia. But overall, I just don't think they're that good. That much better, sorry. Again, Georgia's defense was really good. Name the last coach that did what? Mac Brown. Won a national championship. It doesn't seem like that long ago. I do know it was a long time ago. I want to say that was, gosh. Could it have been 2006? What was the year I think they won the national championship? But look who they've hired. Look at the guys they've hired. Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, Steve Skarkasian. Come on. Texas is in trouble when they go to the SEC, John. I'm telling you. Oh, missed this one. Mark my words, Rattler's going to be average at best at South Carolina. We'll see. Teams score points in the SEC. Oh, come on. Listen, Oklahoma State nearly got to the playoff last year because of their defense. Their offense was atrocious, John. Right? So please don't tell me overall the defense has been on vacation for 20 years. I can say this again. Tell me about the teams I just brought up in the SEC that can't stop anybody. Arkansas. I missed Arkansas before. Arkansas, Ole Miss. Alabama couldn't stop anybody last year. No, it's probably more. I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure the national championship was 2006. Pretty sure. Good stuff tonight, guys. Well, look it. I will disagree. The Texas doesn't have the monopoly on players in the Southwest or in Texas alone that it had years ago, because those kids go to Texas A&M. Texas A&M had the best recruiting class in the country this year. They go to TCU. They go to Tech. They go to. They even go to Texas San Antonio. Great coach there. So yeah, you look at, but there's no reason that Texas can't compete. I'm just not a big Tom Herman fan. It's okay. Everybody goes to Houston and does well because, again, they aren't having to compete. The same argument that I got, and I was for Cincinnati last year being included in the playoff, even though they played in a weaker conference. The AAC is a good league. And there's been a lot of good coaches that have gone through Houston that have not really done well elsewhere. Kevin Sullman, Tom Herman, Dana Holt, what's his name that's there now? John, help me out. Dana Holgesworth. I can't say his name. Oh, I know. Tired tonight. Guys, we're going to go over a little bit tonight. That's okay. Good stuff. John, listen, your opinion, and as I tell guys all the time, look at my opinion's just Holgerson. Thank you. I think that's it. Dana Holgerson. Washed out of West Virginia. Done a great job at Houston. But they don't seem to do well in the next, when they move up to a power conference, none of them seem to do any good. We just disagree. It's fine. And as far as me, look at the scout. Those guys know more than I do. I wouldn't debate that, but my opinion is just my opinion. Some are good, some are bad. Some you'll agree with, some you won't. That's the thing we get to do on the show. We get to agree to disagree. That's why myself and the Mad New Yorker have such a fun time on Fridays. He's way off the edge, and he makes me look like I'm brilliant. Sorry, Carlos. Oh, guys. So we're going to go a little over here. But I had fun tonight. I really didn't expect to spend all this time on the draft and just these quick conversations. I had a list of other stuff, so I got to change my show summary, I guess, when I send it out. But that's fine. I wanted you guys to participate because you always do, and you make this show better. And I want to thank you, John DeLon. And I want to thank you, Carlos and Rick, and who else was there? Anthony, Alan, of course. Neil Bush, thanks for coming in tonight. Guys, make sure you join us. We'll be here next Wednesday with the college football huddle because we're moving back to football-centric, obviously. I didn't even get to talk about the college stuff, basketball stuff. One thing on college basketball, thank God, Dickie V. Good job beating cancer. Cancer-free Dickie V. He'll be back doing games next year. It's not a crime. It is my right to have bad opinions, John. And it's funny how often my bad opinions are on the opposite side of you SEC elitists. Draft Eve next week. Yes, we'll be here live 7 o'clock Eastern time with the college football huddle. And don't forget, on Thursday night, draft night, we'll be live on Northeast Streaming Sports. I'll try to stream it on TGI Sports Talk. Our live draft coverage hosted by Mac and Jack from the Mac and Jack Show. Myself will be co-hosting, and Robert Butler from Sports Scopes. Guys, watch this show. Share it. Invite your friends. We have a lot of fun. I love the debates on this show. They're a lot of fun. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk's College Football Huddle right here on TGI Sports Talk and Northeast Streaming Sports. Catch us a repeat tomorrow at noon on Roku. See you later, guys. Have a great night.